This is Art Market Minute from ArtNet Pro. I'm Margaret Kerrigan. Today we're taking a look at the work of Emily Kngwarray, an Aboriginal artist whose work is currently receiving long overdue international recognition. Born in the remote Utopia region of Central Australia, Emily only began painting in her 70s, a radical act in a community where women were often discouraged from taking up the brush. Yet in just 8 short years, she produced an astonishing body of work, intricate dot paintings, bold color fields, and even batik pieces that weave together ancestral dreaming stories in the landscape of her homeland. This summer, nearly 20 years after her death, Tate Modern is hosting the first major European retrospective dedicated to her, while top galleries and auction houses are also selling her work for record prices. I'm joined by ArtNet's senior art market reporter Eileen Kinsella, who did a deep dive into the artist market recently. Welcome, Eileen.
Great to be here, Margaret.
So, as I've mentioned before, you do a regular feature called The Appraisal, where you look at the current market of an artist, and in your appraisal of Kngwarray, you note her auction record stands at around $1.3 million, which was set in 2017, while many of her works sell in the $400,000 to $500,000 range. Roughly 80 lots have gone for more than $100,000, according to the ArtNet price database. So what dictates the prices for her work, and what are collectors looking for?
Well, her market is defined by both rarity and the specific periods of her work. Kngwarray produced roughly 1 painting a day when she started in the medium, and experts put her total output at around 3,000 paintings. Collectors pay premium prices for her earliest large acrylic paintings from the late 1980s and early 90s. Her later paintings, while quote-unquote quite wonderful according to one expert I spoke to, are not as rare. However, as international interest has grown, there's been increasing demand for works from her prolific middle colorist period.
So you've been cautioned against comparing her work to Western abstract artists. Have comparisons to, say, Jackson Pollock influenced the way collectors approach her market?
Not necessarily. Her work is deeply rooted in her cultural traditions and the notion of dreaming. Sotheby's expert Alex Grogan called these types of comparisons quote-unquote reductive. And I love that term because I think it speaks to the seriousness of her work and how it's received. And serious collectors understand that her art carries profound cultural meaning, and that knowledge shapes both appreciation and valuation.
So with so many international shows happening this year, do you think this will push her market even higher?
Yes, definitely. The Australian dealer Delan Davidson has been instrumental in building her market. He showed Kngwarray's work at TEFAF in Maastricht in March alongside other Aboriginal artists and sold a 1995 painting of hers for $600,000 there. It was the first time ever that there was a stand entirely devoted to Australia's First Nations art at the European Fair, which I think really underscores the growing interest in this kind of art. We're seeing this across the board. And last year, the Indigenous Australian artist Archie Moore won the Golden Lion at the Venice Biennale. And later this year, the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. will host a large-scale exhibition of more than 200 Aboriginal artworks, which will tour across the United States and Canada.
That's really fascinating. Thanks so much, Eileen.
Great to be here, Margaret.
That's it for this week. You can get more details on these stories on news.artnet.com. Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever else you get your podcasts to stay up to date on the latest news in the art market. And please also take a minute to rate and review us to help others discover what we're doing. Art Market Minute is produced by Sonia Manalili and me, Margaret Kerrigan. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.